Good afternoon, friends of Bishop Arts Theater Center. I am here with Mayor Jess Herbst of New Hope, Texas. We're here just to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing in September. And Mayor Jess Herbst has graciously agreed to be part of our panel discussion for In the Tall Grass, running September 14th through the 24th. So she is going to be on that panel on the September 16th post-performance, and we are really excited that she has agreed to be a part of it. So Jess, I'm here in New Hope, and it's such a wonderful little city. Driving through here, it's what the population is, what, 600?
It's about 673. That was our 2010 census, and we haven't had any census since this, and we're not a growing city because we're landlocked, so might be 680, might be 660, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So then did you choose to be here in New Hope specifically, or this is just kind of where you wound up?
Well, yes and no, both. The farm that we're on was where my wife grew up as a child. My in-laws owned the 50 acres that we're on. And in 1999, when my kids had gotten to the point where we were looking for a bigger house, my father-in-law said, gee, if you'd like to build a house on our property, I'll give you 5 acres. I said, let me think about it. Okay.
It's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful home. Really, it is.
It let my in-laws have, they were their granddaughters were right here with them, and the property made it easier for us to build a little nicer house. So it worked out very well for both of us.
Awesome. So you have 2 daughters, is that correct?
I have 2 daughters, both of them grown. Alexandria, she's married for 5 years. Her name is now Alexandria Hull. And she's 28. My youngest is 26. Her name is Lauren Elizabeth, and she's a photographer, lives in Dallas currently.
And I work part-time with Lauren at Whole Foods on Uptown on McKinney. So that's how...
kind of our connection.
And I was like, oh yeah, I work with your daughter at Whole Foods. So Lauren, if you're watching, I hope you're watching. Hello.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah, so you have 2 daughters, and so you've been on this property for how long again?
We built this house in 1999, so 18 years.
18 years, wow.
Almost 2 decades.
And have you always been interested in politics?
Well, my family was very political, so my parents always kept me up to date on what was going on. And lots of political debates. But I really didn't get into politics, per se, until 2003. When we moved here and built the house, it was a gravel road, that nice little paved road. It was all gravel, and there were several gravel roads in town. So I started going to the city council meetings to... really just to see, are they going to pave my road? Are they going to pave my road?
Right.
And they never were. So I got on the city council, and the person who was in charge of the roads had actually resigned, so I volunteered. I got the position as Public Works.
Okay.
I had about a $40,000 a year budget for all the roads at that point. I started taking a little bit of money each year and paving a little bit of road, and in about 7 years I had all the roads paved.
The roads paved here in New Hope.
Yep. So at that point I was kind of hooked. I'd been there for 7 years. I was enjoying it. Eventually I became Mayor Pro Tem, which is kind of vice mayor if you don't know. And so really that's how I am where I am. In 2016 I was actually running for my seat as Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. Not mayor. The mayor was alive and well at that point. He was running for his position. At the very beginning of the campaign, he got, he had a heart attack and was in critical condition. We didn't know what was going to happen, but we continued on. And just, I told the people here that if Johnny gets better, I'll be here until then. When he gets better, he'll have his seat back. He didn't get better.
He didn't get better, unfortunately.
No, he didn't. He passed away 3 days before the election. He still won, though. It tells you how popular he was. He'd been mayor for 26 years.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, I had been running the council for the last several months. It was our duty as a Class B town under Texas general law to appoint a new mayor. We could appoint anybody. Didn't matter if they'd been on the council. We could have appointed anyone.
Right.
They nominated me and voted for me unanimously.
Unanimously.
The rest is kind of history,
as they say. Yep. And so in that time when you were going through that process, you really hadn't come out as transgender then.
Not to my city.
Not to your city.
My family, my daughters, most of my friends, even at that point that was pretty much it. And so I had to give it some thought. Am I gonna be the mayor? What are they gonna do when they find out I'm transgender? Because I'd been on hormones for a year and a half at that point.
And what year was this again?
This was 2016.
2016.
About a year and a month or two ago.
Okay.
So I started hormones in February of 2015. So it was May of 2016. So the clock was ticking on. It was going to be fairly apparent. So. I just decided I'm going to stay mayor, and the only way I can do that and be honest is to tell everybody. So that kind of ran my schedule up a little bit. I started telling the people that I worked with. That went very well. And so then I slowly started telling some of the key people in town. By January, I had everybody but the whole city. So then it was time to tell 600 people in one shot. And I did that by writing a letter.
Right.
And it all worked out very well for me. Unlike what I was expecting, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, as long as you do a good job." And I'm thinking, "Well, that's how it should be."
And it's it's such an amazing thing because you have had resounding support here.
I have
in New Hope, and it's such a small city, and especially in Texas. And when people think of small cities in Texas, especially that. They would be opposed to something like this, and you've had nothing but great support.
I have had wonderful support, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have been here for 18 years.
Okay.
I have been on the city council since 2003.
So they knew you.
So everybody knew me. They knew who I was, and as unusual as this may be to some people, and there are people that are like, I just don't understand. It's like, well, it's okay. If you don't understand it, you're just not trans.
Right.
It's
okay if you don't understand.
You don't have to understand it. You just let me be me. And so, and they did. They're like, well, we'll see how she does. We'll see if we can, call her by the right pronouns, which I've given most of them a pass. I said, look, if you flub up, that's fine. I don't, as long as you're not being derogatory, I don't care. And I think that helped a lot with a lot of people because, a lot of the nervousness that people have about other transgender people is they don't know how to act, and they're very self-conscious. So for a lot of people here, I'm just trying to say, just be yourself. Don't worry about it. And I think that helps a lot. I know. I think it really does.
So has this been a really great educational opportunity for you to bring these issues and concerns of the transgender community to a small city like New Hope?
It has. I had to sit down and explain to quite a few people, particularly the council, and they were good. They didn't understand, and they would come back and maybe a week later or two, can I ask you this or that? I'm like, sure, ask me anything.
Right.
And I think that's helped quite a lot. Studies show, and my experience has certainly bore out that if you know somebody that's transgender, you feel a lot more comfortable with them.
Right.
It's that when you don't know them, when you've never heard them, it just seems so unusual. And so all these people knew me, and now they all of a sudden, they know someone transgender. I had a lot of them say, well, I never knew anybody transgender before. I said, that you knew of.
That you knew of.
Okay. And then you knew me all this time. And I've been this way, as long as I can remember. So you have known someone, I just didn't tell you I was transgender before. And there's plenty of other people that are in that same boat.
Yeah. So, do you think your politics have changed since coming out as transgender? And if so, what would those differences be?
Well, okay, so my political position really has not changed. What has changed is the realization that I need to be more vocal about it, particularly in the advocacy route. I've always been, very much equality for everyone, and I've tried to do that at the city council when we have things. It's like, look, we need to apply these rules evenly to everyone. But now that, of course, with this things going on in the Texas bathroom and, all the reporters initially like, well, how do you feel about that? And I would say, well, I'm totally against it. And somebody said, well, what are you doing about it? And I thought, well, what am I doing about it?
So, what are you doing about it?
So
tell us what you're doing about it for this new session, right? That's coming up next week.
Well, I'm going to Austin Monday night. There was a very large rally on Tuesday, the 18th, the beginning day of the session. It is sponsored by a coalition or alliance of groups called One Texas Resists.
One Texas
It
Resists.
is the Human Rights Campaign, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, Deeds Not Words, the Texas Democratic Party, a variety of labor unions, a variety of women's groups, Black Trans Women Inc., Black Trans Men Inc.
Who are also going to be at the panel for this September 16th. Black Trans Men Inc. and Black Trans Women Inc. will be there at our panel.
Perfect. Transcendence. The list right now, a letter was released today. There are 36 major organizations that have signed on in one big show of solidarity, which I'm really excited. I'm excited not just to have the rally, but to have the rally where everyone is there saying, I'm here and I'm supporting, I'm supporting you as for women's rights. I'm supporting you for immigrant rights. And they're supporting me, and we're all there in solidarity. During the regular session, I've testified before the Senate. I testified before the House. We did protests, and we had a large turnout of transgender people.
Oh, okay, wow!
But it was transgender people. We were there fighting the bathroom bills, and then maybe the next day or the next week, the immigrant rights people were there for that. Now we're all combined. We're all unified.
So remind us, what's the name of this organization?
It is called One Texas Resists.
One Texas Resist.
And if you look on Facebook, you'll find their page. You can sign up for events. Please, if you have the time, come to the rally. If you have some extra time and you'd like to protest, get in contact with me or anyone from this group, and we have lots of things planned for the next session.
So it's One Texas Resist, and they will be in Austin September 17th?
The 18th.
18th, I'm sorry. September 18th, they will be in Austin to protest the bathroom bill that is going to be in the second session for Texas legislation.
We'll be there to protest everything that's on the session that we don't know.
That you don't,
honestly, there's a rally at 1 o'clock. There's going to be a time for the transgender people to speak about bathroom bills. There's going to be a time for immigrant rights to speak about immigrant rights.
Right.
I said it is one big rally.
That's awesome.
So 1 o'clock, South Texas Steps, the 18th.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, as I mentioned before, you are going to be on our panel for In the Tall Grass.
Yes.
If those of you who don't know, In the Tall Grass is a verbatim play by Paul Kalburgi, and who's a British playwright who resides sometimes here and sometimes in Spain. And this particular play is about Shade Schuler, who was murdered in 2015. And 2015, according to statistics then, was the highest year for transgender murder. What do you think you could bring to a panel for a play like this that is talking about these issues that specifically transgender women of color face?
Well, obviously, as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed transgender woman, I can't possibly understand how it feels. But I have many friends that are transgender women of color. One of my best friends, one that's doing just so much, is kind of my partner in all this protest, is a woman named Nicole Lynn Perry, and we talk about this quite a lot. There's been 16 transgender women of color murdered this year.
Oh my gosh!
So, I mean, what I can bring to the panel is an understanding of the life of a transgender woman, how it is when we interact with the public, and just kind of a glimpse into the life. I mean, so many of the women that we're talking about, they're not the lucky people like me. Maybe they've lost their job, and they're having a hard time making ends meet, and this tends to put them in situations that are not good situations. They will, they're looking for a place to live, and maybe someone gives them a handout or something, and then they turn around and murder them because they feel like they're just people that they can throw away when they're not.
They're not.
And so, I'm going to do my best to give your panel everything I can. But as I said, I don't suffer that same fate. I understand the transgender, and I understand what's going on with them, and I'm just hoping to help people, understand where we come from as far as, just our public lives.
So have you felt any pressure from the community, the transgender community, now that you're kind of in a political position?
I won't say that I felt pressure. I'll say I felt obligation.
Obligation? Okay.
Right now, probably I besides Caitlyn Jenner, and we won't talk about Caitlyn, and Laverne Cox, I'm probably the most famous transgender person currently. I'm out there, and if I were to throw that away and not do interviews and not go to Austin and not go to Washington, then I'd be wasting a resource that the transgender community doesn't get very often. So I'm trying to do everything I can to help spread the word. I'm doing everything I can to make people understand we are people. We have families. We have lives. We have brothers and sisters and mothers. And, so many people just feel like we're just this strange thing and, isolated. And we're not. We're out there.
We're part of the community.
We are part of the community, and we're people that you may or may not know.
Yeah.
So I think the more people that can hear my story and that I can meet and that I can talk to, I think that just helps the community as a whole.
It's really interesting you say that because there's so much now media out there with on Amazon with Transparent.
Yes.
As one of the big kind of advocacy shows out there for the transgender community. But we really, that just kind of is a sector of the transgender community.
It is.
And In the Tall Grass really does bring an awareness to the transgender community of color, women of color, and the problems that they face. A lot of them, as you mentioned, don't have that support.
Right.
And it's important that people come and see a show like In the Tall Grass to be able to see what they're experiencing, learn from it, and hopefully do something about it.
Doing something about it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
If they can just, when they hear someone else talk derogatory about a transgender woman or a person of color or a transgender woman of color, speak up. When you hear somebody being hateful, explain to them that's not the way to be. These are real people. These are people with lives and feelings, and so many people just segregate people and say, oh well, they're not really my kind of human, so I can feel bad about them. But other people can call them down on that, and I think that's really where we need to go. I mean, and that's one of the big things that you're mentioning, Transparent. It kind of helped people understand that, well, maybe we shouldn't call all transgender people slurs. Maybe there are, and right now we're in that terrible state. It's better than it was, but it's like, okay, well, some of them are okay. No, we're all okay.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of really getting society to get over their anxieties and go, it's okay. We are just as normal as anybody else. But, a play like this is going to help so many people that see that to kind of understand what's going on. And I don't think people really know how many transgender women of color are murdered every month.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of keep a clock tick of it, and every time it happens, it's just sad. We just had one 2 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Wow.
I'll have to go. I have so many things to go, but we had one 2 weeks ago. We're now up to 16 this year.
Wow. And you said that there, while in Austin, there's I remember you mentioning that there's going to be pictures of them.
Yeah. So
tell us about that.
I won't say exactly when because.
Right.
At one point, there will be a little bit of a disruption where transgender people and people from the coalition, they may not be transgender, will be in a position to display. We have nice big printed posters of all the transgender women who have been murdered this year, and they're all transgender women of color, their names, when they were murdered, and we're going to display them in a spot that was going to disrupt the legislature in an effort to just kind of show them. I'd love to give you more details.
I know, we want a surprise. We love a good surprise, I guess.
It's not that I want to surprise you. We need to surprise the DPS officers.
I get it.
Because they would not be fond of this idea. And so one of the things we also have to do is talk to our volunteers, people who do this. Like, look, here's how far you can escalate this before you will get arrested. So please, you can take it here, but stop. We don't want anybody arrested.
Right.
Because particularly not transgender people. It's a horrible experience because, even me, I can go in and be arrested in the city of Austin, and at that point, they're probably going to throw me in the men's cell with a bunch of people who are not going to be all that fond of me, and it's just not going to be a good experience. No matter who you are, blonde hair, blue eyes, and mayor or not, they're going to throw me in the spot to do me, to teach me a lesson. Okay, so we don't want anybody to get arrested.
No.
But we are going to do a few things that will at least get us a stern talking to, as long as we stop at the right point.
But at least you're getting the point out there, and you're getting the message out there.
That's really what we're trying to do, is explain that, look, if you pass these bills, all you're doing is promoting hate. You're giving people an excuse to say, oh, their behavior is against the law, so now I can act poorly against you. I can take my punishment out against you. And the way this law is written, there's no provision for enforcement. So what we're going to have is vigilante justice. So all of these people that right now, the few that feel bold enough to attack and murder a transgender woman of color, we're going to have a whole lot more of those if this bathroom bill goes through. And that's what we're trying to say. It's like, look, if you pass this, we've had this many people murdered already. How many more are going to get murdered? How many school children are going to get bullied? When you give the general public permission to treat a class of human beings differently than everybody else, it really just promotes bullying.
Bullying and hate, and of course we are not about that.
No.
We want all to do acceptance and everything. Let me see here. So, Jess, before we go, this is going to be quick and sweet. Is there anything that you really want to let people out there know about yourself otherwise, or what's happening, anything new?
Well, besides, Austin is my focus. The bathroom bill is my focus. Once that's over with, we'll see what shakes out in the political tree. There are some positions that are on my radar for possibly running for candidacy, but
that's exciting.
I'll leave that as a surprise. I really can't focus on that until we get finished with this Texas legislation. That's my primary goal, because I honestly feel like if Texas passes these laws, they're going to be the next domino, and the rest of the states are going to fall just like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's critical to stop this here. And then I can breathe easy enough to figure out what's going to happen next.
So, and we still have an opportunity to write our legislatures to be able to not pass this bill. Is that correct?
Writing is going to be a little slow at this point. Pick up the phone and call.
Here's
what you need to do. Google, contact my state representative, and you'll get a dozen sites, but they'll pop you right up. You'll put in your zip code. It'll say, oh, here's your state House rep. Here's your state senator.
Right.
Here's their phone numbers. Here's the phone number for the governor. Here's the phone number for the lieutenant governor. Call them all. Call them all. Call often.
Yes. And so, again, come see Jess Herbst September 16th for the post-performance talkback in the Tall Grass at Bishop Arts Theater Center. I am Sergio Garcia, the Director of Marketing and Communications for Bishop Arts Theater Center, here with Mayor Jess Herbst. And we want to thank you for your time today. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really look forward to the panel.
Thank you.